Welcome to Health Conscious Entrepreneurs, where we discover secrets to balancing entrepreneurship, life, healthy habits to achieve radiant health. I'm your host, Ngoc, and today I have my friend Lynne Wadsworth from Florida, where it's nice and humid.
Yes.
Lynne, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on, and please share your knowledge, share your experience, and share what brings you joy.
So what really brings me joy is seeing people change their lives for the better, especially if there are things that have been stumbling blocks in their lives that they haven't realized were there, things that have stopped them from achieving success. And I like to be able to clear those pathways for them. The other thing that brings me great joy are my 4 grandchildren. Wish we could have skipped the kids.
Yes, we can stop the kids. Kids aren't important. You know, it's always my mom have 8 kids and 13 grandkids. Wow. She doesn't remember any of her birthday, just remembers her grandkids' birthday. Yeah, we become secondary once the grandkids come, right?
That's for sure.
That's right. And so what was your journey to come to what you're doing now?
Oh my gosh. So I actually lived in England from a young girl till I met my husband, who was a United States Air Force man. Mm-hmm. And so I came, he's actually from Florida. So I came here in the 70s, went back to England for a while and came back. So I really was very dumb, I guess you could say, when it came to anything about my health, anything about wellness. You know, in England, that's not really promoted too well, and certainly it wasn't back then. Mm-hmm. So I started off when I was 16 with mono, and people say, well, you know, it's no big deal, 3 weeks. Well, I was in bed for 6 months and do not remember a thing about it. So now I have the knowledge to know that that's an autoimmune disease. Mm-hmm. So then at 21, I started with migraines. And when we moved to Florida, they became a daily occurrence. Mm-hmm. So on top of my migraines, I ended up with high cholesterol, high blood pressure. I'd had multiple surgeries, and I had like 5 to 6 really bad sinus infections every year that I had to take 2 kinds of inhalable antibiotics. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of decided enough was enough. I was tired of the pain, tired of dealing with the yo-yo dieting and up and down, up and down. Mm-hmm. And I decided I needed to do something, and I started researching. And I found the college I went to for my training, and it just totally revolutionized my own life. So I got off my blood pressure medication, my cholesterol medication. My migraines went from daily to about 3 or 4 a month, which was totally doable because they were not like an 8 or 9 on the scale anymore. Yeah. And haven't had a sinus infection, one small one maybe about 2 years ago, but in 6 or 7 years.
Yeah,
so just amazing. The change in lifestyle just can be so incredibly transformational.
Yeah, and it shows that you have a desire to learn and figure it out. And right. I think a lot of us, what happens to us is that we are just so used to doing things over and over the same thing. And then we just take things as it is and take what the doctors say as it is.
Right.
Right. But you had that desire to say, okay, this doesn't work for me. How do I fix it? How do I go around figuring it out and getting the health we need? Because our health is our greatest asset, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And you know, you can, I was just talking to somebody today that people can look really healthy on the outside. You can be skinny, you can be an athlete, but that doesn't mean on the inside that we're healthy. So for somebody that looked at me 6 years ago would probably think, because by then I'd lost quite a bit of weight, they'd probably think, oh, look, she's healthy. But then I'd got this, not only the high cholesterol, my triglycerides were 550 and they're supposed to be under 100. Yeah. I mean, that's not a healthy person.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And because we're outside, we show people this space, right? But inside we have all these pain or acidity level that's crazy, or we're not eating properly, we're not drinking proper food, proper drinks and drinking sodas and all that stuff, and eating like fast food and all that. And then we think it's just okay, but it's really not, because we don't, this one body you have to take care of. I keep telling people, it's like, you need to take care of this body. There's only one. You can't replace this, you know? There's no returning to anybody. You can't return this body to anybody. You just have to make sure you can I return my body to you? Can you give me a refund? Let's recharge my body somehow, Mom.
That would be funny.
Yeah, isn't it? So for your work, what do you do? What modalities, and what do you do to help people?
So most of what I do is really from a natural perspective. So I also understand that there are times people have to take medications, they have to take a doctor's advice, but I try to work at it from a totally natural point of view. So even with dieting, because I help a lot of women with weight loss, especially as I work with women in midlife and it kind of piles on, I don't do any kind of take this supplement, do this, do that. I do it all naturally with foods, with healthy lifestyle, and have several specific ways and steps to take people through to learn how to live that healthy lifestyle. Because you can diet, you can lose the weight, and then you put it back on, and just because you've dieted and lost the weight doesn't make you live a healthy lifestyle.
No. Yeah, the inside has to be clean and good water, like we say, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's so important, and that's why I did put the summit together, because I also had my own health journey with, you know, inflammation and stuff, and I came across this amazing water, and so it kind of changed my life. And now creating the summit to really talk to people and say, hey, what are you doing? Because there's so many supplements out there that it's overwhelming. And like when I look at supplements, I'm like, what, you know, I read it and it's like, okay, is this good for you or not? What's in these ingredients? Is there added stuff in these supplements that you're not really understanding? Because then what if you take the supplement and there's something else that's caused something else? It's like medication. You take one medication, it causes something else, right? So then I go back to like, so I invested in like a good water system. I invested in this GrowBot, which I love because it's like it grows food for me, like my fruits and vegetables in the garden with just no soil, just water, sunlight, and you know, a system that's amazing. And then I invested in this new like frequency machine that's just like, how do I manage my frequencies? Because that's when you get out of balance. So there's things that we can all do to kind of manage that, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so for you, so if you, when you're working with people, do you specifically, you do coaching for people for the health journey, right? And so what do you first look at, or do you go through, it has to be first, there's a mindset, right? There has to be like someone has
It really is, but people don't really realize that. So I don't advertise that, hey, I'm a mindset coach, because people often don't get that. Yeah. So if they come to me for weight loss, or if they come to me because they're struggling through midlife, normally the first thing that we tackle is the mindset, because it's not just this kind of mind, it's our emotional part of us too, because so much of us is what I call the stumbling blocks. So there might be something that went on in childhood that rejection is a really bad one, that causes you to eat from your emotions, and maybe you have no self-worth because you were never shown it growing up. So you kind of really have to address those before people can be really successful in their walk, because otherwise they just go back into the same patterns.
Yeah, because I feel like dieting doesn't help. I don't know, because like when people diet, and like we get in this mindset of diet, and it's only, I feel like it's a temporary thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's really a mindset of changing, like really the lifestyle. Like what is your purpose and what's your lifestyle? It's like, what is it that you want to change, right? And then you have to be determined, and that's what drives you to like really make those changes. Otherwise, we just do it for like a few months.
Yeah.
And then we go back to the old habits again, right? Go back to the old style.
Yeah, that was how I spent most of my, because I started dieting when I was about 16, and then I'd lose it and then I'd put it on, because that hurts your health overall. And you're absolutely right. you diet for a short period of time, and I've done some doozies. I don't know if you've ever heard of the cabbage soup diet, but that's one that really sticks out to
Oh
me.
yeah. Man, when
Ate a lot.
cabbage soup, it smells like so. I mean, cabbage soup is like it's one of those things like just smells. The whole house smells.
It does. Yeah. Yeah. And it's really a temporary thing. I call that the diet mentality.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to move people away from. So it is a change in mindset, and it's learning healthy habits that you can take with you for a lifetime. And so, okay, you fall off the bandwagon, which you do in dieting with a diet mentality. But when you've learned healthy habits, you can get back on the horse again a lot more easily.
Yeah. And then how to get them to like have those process, right? So do you give people like a list of your process? Like you say, okay, this is a checklist that you have.
I don't actually give them a checklist per se, but like every week we would have a session around a specific thing. So it may even be something as simple as like you're talking about and you deal with is water, because most of us don't drink enough water, and yet it affects our brain, it affects our body, it affects migraine headaches if you're dehydrated. So I always remember my mom one time when I'd gone back to England had said to me, well, I'm okay because I drink about 4 or 5 cups of tea a day. And I'm like, okay, well, black tea is a diuretic for one thing. Then you drink it with milk and sugar. So no, you're not getting any hydration whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's a really big learning curve for some people because they just don't get it. They don't like water, and you have to find ways for them to enjoy water.
Yeah. I think I was the same. And I think that was a lot of my problem, was that I was drinking water that wasn't serving me, where I was drinking like bottled water, and then I would drink tap water and not really realizing that it wasn't really good water. So then I don't drink that much because it just, you know, it doesn't taste good. And then when I was exposed to this alkaline water machine, and I started feeling it hydrating me, and now I drink so much more water. And then all those symptoms I had of headaches, migraines, bowel movements, all those other stuff started going away, inflammation and stuff. So then I knew I was drinking really good water. And so that was why I was researching more about water, to really understand what is alkalized water versus the one that you buy in the store versus a machine. So that's my journey of like to bring more awareness of, okay, let's talk about health, but not only health in terms of water. We talked about nutrition, right? And then the spiritual health, the mental health, and we talked about physical, emotional health, right? And then we talk about financial health. Right.
That's the whole holistic idea. It's a total circle, and you can't just take one portion of it and then neglect the others.
Right. Because if your relationship at home is not serving you and you're like fighting all the time, it's like that mental health and emotional health is off balance, right? And if you're worrying about money, so constantly your brain is working on money, like then how do you focus on building or creating? So you have to make sure that all these things,
everything,
is in balance. And so for me, this is so important that we share the message of, okay, how do we look at balancing everything that we do to achieve the life that we want, to achieve the house that we want, to achieve the quality life for children, building that legacy for our children or grandchildren and the future great grandchildren that we have, you know. And then for me, it's also protecting the earth, right?
Right.
How do we like look at like what we're doing and how it's impact to the environment, because that's the future for us.
Right. And I think there's been some research done while we've all been in lockdown about how much better the earth has become while we haven't had the emissions and all of the other stuff that harms our earth.
It is. It was so nice when you know, it was was so nice for me in the beginning was that I go out and there was no one in the street. There was no cars. The freeway was empty. And that was the reflection that we drive so much, right? And so we put so much emission into the air, all the things that we're doing, and that we're not like caring about our environment. And that just gets worse and worse and worse. And so it's great that these studies are coming out and it's bringing awareness. And I think for me, it's like reconnecting to the family.
Yes. Yeah. It was
Yeah.
very difficult to begin with because for most of us, we couldn't see our family.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, I mean, Florida really is an epicenter at the moment still. So we're still in partial lockdown,
Mm-hmm.
but at least I'm able to see my family now. And I've heard people on the TV say it's been like 6 months since I've been able to see my family. And that's so difficult for
Yeah,
us.
it is. Yeah. So now I feel like we need to really invest in our health, right? It's
Yes,
like, okay,
absolutely.
so let's take the time to look at what is important to us, right? As like
Right.
your family, your friends, your health, like your finances. Look at these different components of our life and say, okay, what can we do differently? How do we shift? How do we shift so that we're able to live a better life, to enjoy it more? Instead of
Right.
being sick when we're older, how do we create this longer prevention of being healthier so we can enjoy it when we're older? So when we're retired, we're not like suffering,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like, how do we help each
Yeah.
other like get better and not suffer when we're older so that we're all share the knowledge? And this is why I love talking to coaches. I love talking to doctors, because every one of us have different knowledge, like, and
Right.
every one of us have different journeys that we went through to come
And
to.
I feel kind of growing up in England, I kind of had an advantage because we ate well. Everything that we had was fresh. Um, when I first came to the States and I went grocery shopping, I couldn't believe that, oh my gosh, they've got bread here that lasts for 2 or 3 weeks. And I
Right.
mean, it blew my mind, but at that time, I didn't even think about the fact that, oh, this is filled with poison, really, because it's preservatives and chemicals. So I was brought up eating that way, eating the fresh whole foods. And so it was only really when I came to the States, I got so far the other side with it because fast foods were fascinating to me. And oh gosh, such an easy way. And yet it's just so detrimental. Now in England, I go home and the fast food places are all over the place.
Yeah.
And their health is deteriorating just like our health here in the US.
Yeah. Our what we are doing here in Western culture is impacting other cultures because we're
Yes.
bringing our bad habits that we
Yes.
have, the convenience, the fast food, and the processed food. We're bringing that to different countries and
Yes.
causing more problems in their countries. I mean,
Right.
it's crazy when I travel. It's like, why is there McDonald's in like? It's like, why? It's like, and then they improvise, like in China, they improvise with different things that's local, but there's still this
Yes.
McDonald's stuff.
Yes.
And it's like all the aisles of processed food from the US brand and stuff like that. It's like, this is bad, you guys. Don't you guys know that this is bad for you? I mean, there has to be like a health movement, a consciousness of don't eat these things. Eat things that are coming from the earth. And even now, like even for me, like the more I learn about health and the source of our food, like even the ground worms, like all the food that's grown, there's no more worms in our soil, right? So the worms served a purpose,
Right.
right? They were supposed to like eat the dirt, process it, and go through their body and clean up the soil, and then so we have these nutrients and minerals from the soil. Now there's no worms. You go out, where are the worms? Where's the compost and things like that? It's all sprayed and all commercialized.
Yes.
So then the food, the nutrients from the food is not the same anymore. And then we spray it with pesticide.
And even if you buy organic, and this was something my husband said to me when I started buying organic food, he said, it's great to have organic food, which it is, but that's why we have like the dirty dozen, the 10 foods that you shouldn't eat, that you should eat organic and not eat them from other ways. But some of the organic foods are grown right next to a field of non-organic and the spray goes right on over. Exactly. So you can't assume because you're eating organic that you're getting the fresh source. That's why growing your own is really such a healthy alternative.
Yeah, exactly. So I have my grow bots going with my like different herbs and stuff because I cook with herbs. Go outside in my backyard, cut it, cook with, take the little herbs that I need. I know it's grown organically because I'm not spraying anything. There's nothing
Right.
around that's spraying on it, right? And then that's why when I realized, see, I didn't realize this about organic until I had my water machine. And my water machine has this 11.5 pH water that's able to extract pesticide, which is an oil base. And so when I was cleaning organic stuff, my water was turning yellow and green. And so I realized this organic stuff is not really organic. It still has a lot of pesticide in it. But when you wash with regular water, you can't tell.
No,
The water just doesn't do it. And plus the regular water has chlorine. So the chlorine soaks into your produce. When you're washing it, the chlorine goes into the produce. So then now the chlorine is in the produce and you're eating raw stuff. So that's why when it brought me to a whole different level of awareness of water and what an important role it plays in our food and our system and all that sort of stuff. So I just, it's pretty amazing for me as this journey and connecting with you and what you're doing. I'm so grateful that we were able to talk and understand more of your journey and what you're bringing to the world.
Thanks.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Yes. And so when you go through your program, that people who wants to understand more of themselves, do you have like different programs for them, or it's mostly coaching, or do you like, okay, this package is this package is that, this is a different weight loss program or mindset or things like that?
I've really tried to simplify it. So I offer, say, like a mentorship type of program that they can do on a monthly basis. And then I offer my 3-month package. So I don't label it as, because I have different programs. I've got one for helping you if you're addicted to sugar. I've got detox programs, but I try to just label it as being a health and wellness or weight loss coaching package. And then when the people come and I see what their issues are, then I can draw from my many resources and my knowledge to really dig down into what it is that they need.
Yeah. So are you a great cook?
No, I'm actually a certified wellness cooking instructor.
Oh, you are?
Awesome. I am not a great cook.
Yeah.
I was never, well, we were taught in school to cook, but going to this academy really helped me because I was not the best cook. Baking, I can do the baking, but I don't do that anymore because I'm a sugaraholic myself, so I stay away from it. But I've learned how to cook a lot better over the years, and I can teach people how to cook healthy foods.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm not a gourmet chef by any means.
Yeah, I learned how to cook when I was little. Yeah. So like when I was young, because I grew up in a family of 8 kids, right? So I was the oldest girl. I had to learn how to cook when I was like 12 years old for the whole family. So I learned how to cook, so I can cook like any kind of food, like Italian food, American food, Chinese food, like Filipino, like Indian food. I just love
Indian is my favorite.
Yeah.
I love Indian food.
Yeah, and the spices are so phenomenal. Like if you know how to really use it. I mean, it's a mystery because they have like every dish has like 5 or 6 spices, right? It's like actually at least like 7 ingredients. Always ginger, garlic, and this masala spice, and all these seeds and fennel seeds, but it's just so good.
It is so good.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was in India, and then when I went to India, oh my gosh, it was so good. Just a simple restaurant. It was just the flavor is just phenomenal in terms of Indian food. And
yeah. So in England, we had a huge amount of Indian people emigrate to England years ago. And so we have phenomenal Indian restaurants in England. Some of the best Indian food.
Yeah. It's I have been to England a long time ago. I haven't been back there, but definitely would love to go back to England and go back, visit all over Europe. But you know what? At the end of the day, wherever I go, I feel like I still have to have at least one day of Chinese food or Asian food somewhere. And it's sometimes, I remember one time I was in, we were in Venice. And we had a whole trip to over there, and we went to Rome, Florence, and Venice. And then by the time we were in Venice, I was like, we were craving for Chinese food, and we went everywhere looking for a Chinese restaurant. And we finally found this Chinese restaurant, this hole in the wall somewhere, like a corner street somewhere, and we had rice. It was just like the best rice ever after not having Chinese food.
Right.
Yeah, but it was that back then it was hard to find a Chinese restaurant in Venice. But I'm sure there's more now. But it was just end of the day, you have to no matter what you eat, you have to go back to your core of what you were
Yes, absolutely.
It's like your body's telling you, okay, I need this kind of food, even though it's greasy or whatever. That's fine. It was really good. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So how do we find you? I mean, wait. Before we go there, I have my one question that I always.
Yes.
I warned you about this question.
This is where I duck under the desk and I don't come out.
Okay, so my question is, if you have one superpower to change the world, what would that superpower be, and why?
I think my superpower would be being able to really see into a person's constructed mind and emotions, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I could really get an absolutely true grasp of where they're at. Mm-hmm. So I could go in with laser focus to be able to help them change what needs to be changed.
Yeah. That might be kind of scary,
Yeah.
What you might find in the brain.
Absolutely.
Some things you don't want to know.
Right. No, I just want those parts that would really help change them.
Yeah.
The rest of it.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's amazing. We're all such individuals, right? Our who we are as a person, it's just dictated by so many things: genetic, our upbringing, the environment, and then the traumas and the things that makes us who we are to become to this human being, this physical body of okay, well then with all these stories that goes in our head.
Yep, constant stories.
Yeah, the little voices that keeps telling you to do certain things, or or do crazy things, or illogical things and emotional things. But I always find it, I mean, I love, what I love about doing this show is I always love meeting people. And I find that just when we meet people, even globally, I've met so many people globally. It's been so powerful, just powerful, connecting and getting to know someone and just having these conversations that is so meaningful than just surface level relationship where it's oh, hey, hi, how are you, and all these things. It's just it's just amazing to just know that no matter where you are at and no matter what you're doing, you're finding someone that connects with you, or they're going through a journey, or that you can help and talk and have conversation with. It's just been an amazing doing the summit. It's been very powerful.
Awesome.
Yes. Yeah. And so if we want to find you, how do we find you?
Yeah, so the most easy resource to find me is on my website, which is holistic-healthandwellness.com, and health and wellness is all written out. Mm-hmm. And on there is information, a ton of recipes, ton of my podcasts are on there. Mm-hmm. My blogs, but also my free offer, which is really for women in midlife to help them ditch the hormonal way to re-energize their life. Mm-hmm. And I am on Facebook. I have a women's group that's called the Energized Healthy Women.
Yes.
And we discuss in there health issues, and we have different topics every month and chances for people to support one another.
Yeah. I think it's so important that we do support each other, right?
Yes.
At the end of the day, it's so lonely if you don't,
It is. Yes.
It's so lonely if you if you're in isolation and you don't have any friends to talk to or someone who can empathize or understand, it's like it's a lonely world, and you live in your head
Yes.
and live in your isolation. So if you can connect with one another and
Yes.
to share our stories, to share our journey, to share the pains, right, and the happiness and the joy,
Right.
accomplishment, it just goes
Yeah.
so far. It
It
just makes us
does.
more, I think it just makes us more human, you know?
And I think at this time in history, it's even more important than ever for us to make some really real connections with people.
Yeah, it's important. And I had the other day where I was walking out on outside and was going for a walk because I was just tired staying in the house and just working all the time. And I met this elderly lady. She's like in her 80s, and she just went to this area where there was like a little park, and we were just watching the water. And I live on an island, right? So then you see the water, and she just walked up with a bunch of books, and we just started chatting. And I felt she was like so. I felt her energy. She was really lonely, and
Oh,
she had a mask on. I had a mask on, and I just started talking to her, and she's just telling me how lonely she was and how hard it was for her, and that her kids didn't understand, and that they're not here, and she wasn't connected to her daughter. And so I told her, may I please give you a hug? And I came over, and she gave me permission to give her a hug. And so I gave her a hug, and she started crying, and I'm like, oh
oh,
my gosh, she's just it's so hard. And so when we parted, I gave her my number, and I said, if you ever need someone to talk to, if you want to just just someone to walk or something, just call me, and here's my number. And so she called me like a few
oh,
hours later. And honestly, she did. And she left me this beautiful voicemail, and she said how she needed that human touch. And it was just like, wow, that I offered a hug, just a simple hug to someone, and that just like made her day, where she felt so much better knowing that someone was human enough to like give her a hug, and just like, okay, and she feels so much better. So those are little things of humanity
yeah,
that I think we have
yeah,
to get back in touch with. I think it's so
right.
important, right? As
Yeah.
a holistic healer and coach and things like that, we would just stop and listen, and just stop and just understand people on that deeper level, and just to just like forget all the other stuff, all the politics and all the things that we fight over, little things that makes no sense.
Right,
It's
right,
senseless, right?
right.
End of the day, we're just human beings being on this physical earth, experiencing life and happiness and joy. We can just get back to being that.
Right,
And
right.
life would be just so much more amazing, right? Right?
Certainly
No more
would.
fighting, no more war, no more politics, no more like money problems and stuff. We just get back to the basic, like in the old days, right?
Yeah,
With the technology we have and all the fun we can.
yeah, yeah.
If we can get back to that, that would be so amazing. And that's why I so appreciate all the healers, all the coaches, all the doctors, all the people who really, really help other people to bring us to a different level of awareness. And I just like just sharing information. And I so much appreciate you, Lynn. I really
Oh, thanks a
appreciate
lot.
your work. I appreciate that you allow me to bring you on my show, and to really have a conversation and chat, and bring you out to the world more, bring me out to the world more, and just bring more awareness to this earth. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a pleasure.